All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Appreciate your time this morning as always. This is the noticed meeting of the Customer and Workforce Committee for JEA on March 31st, 2023. And the first item of business is calling us to order, which I will do, and then adopting the agenda. The agenda is before us, and I will ask the committee if there are any additions or deletions to the agenda. All right, hearing none, the agenda is set. And the next item is the approval of minutes from our September 16 meeting, September 16 of 2022. Again, I'll ask the committee if there are any additions or deletions to the minutes.
Move approval.
Thank you, sir. Given the fact that we don't have a quorum physically present, we are not able to approve these minutes at this meeting, but the minutes will be discharged to the full board for action on April 25th. All right, so we'll begin with our values moment, and I think we have Mercy Castillo to share that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mercy Castillo, Customer Contacts Manager. I've been with JEA for almost 8 years, and I work with a tenured and very knowledgeable team supporting the residential call center by answering questions and providing guidance on their calls. We also respond to customer correspondence and process bill adjustments for residential and customer and commercial accounts. Safety is a core value of JEA, and as we are in a virtual environment, please be aware of your surroundings and be mindful of the safety precautions where you are. For our values moment, I would like to talk about respect. We treat others with courtesy and respect, seeking diverse perspectives and helping to bring out the best in everyone. Respect is about being inclusive and open to the differences in beliefs and opinions, supporting others and being compassionate, acknowledging you've made a mistake. Respect at work is a vital part establishing a healthy working environment. Respect is the foundation of humane and ethical behavior, and mutual respect underpins good relationships. To have respect for a person involves a fundamental belief in their right to exist, to be heard, and to have the same opportunities as everyone else. Respect doesn't mean ignoring people's differences or simply tolerating them. Rather, it involves recognizing differences, understanding their significance, and responding with interest, politeness, and care. Mutual respect can be demonstrated by a shared belief in the benefits of diversity, the variety of backgrounds, abilities, and viewpoints within our teams. With mutual respect, people avoid labeling other people in unhelpful ways. Instead, we celebrate the unique things that each of us brings and capitalize on all that we have in common. Being valued and treated respectfully helps to promote a positive work culture in which employees are fulfilled, loyal, engaged, and motivated to perform at their very best.
Thank you, Mercy. Really appreciate that reflection on our value of respect. With that, we will open it to comments from the public. Do we have any comments this morning?
This is Landon. We have not seen any public comments in the chat or raised hands this morning.
Thank you, Landon. Okay. Then we will move ahead to our fuel pricing policy review. Victor.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Victor Blackshear. I am the Director of Financial Planning and Rates. And this morning, I'll be sharing the impacts of our revised fuel pricing policy. So as a reminder, our old fuel pricing policy required a fuel rate adjustment when actuals plus forecasted fuel costs exceeded 10% of our projected annual fuel costs while targeting a 15% stabilization fund balance, it will require a fuel adjustment, or excuse me, a fuel rate adjustment. And here you'll see an illustration that's comparing our old policy to our new policy as far as our rates. The green line is the fuel rate under the current policy, and the blue line is the fuel rate under the old policy. The arrows indicate under the old policy when a fuel rate would have been required, fuel rate adjustment would have been required to be changed. As you can see here, it would have been required in November and May as well as August. The main takeaway in doing this comparison is that if we would have remained under the old policy, our customers would have paid approximately $119 million in fuel charges. As you know, in this current fiscal year, the tide has slowly turned with our fuel costs. Our fuel costs is beginning to slowly decline, and under the old policy, the stabilization fund balance would have absorbed the volatility in the early part of this year. With a few rate adjustments downwards, we would have saw a rate increase, a rate decrease, excuse me, in November and another one in February under this trajectory. But even with the declining cost of fuel, the main takeaway here is we would have held over $100 million of our customers' money just to ensure that we've had that money set aside in the fuel stabilization fund balance. So as we compare the old policy to our newer revised policy, it appears that we've made a pretty good call in making the adjustments in our pricing policies. Any questions?
Any questions from any of the other committee members?
I don't have a question, but I want to be sure that this is one of those opportunities and times when we look back to see what the impact was. When we were making this adjustment, we expected to see very little change because we had seen 10 or 15 years, and last year was extremely volatile. On this chart, you can see where it levels out, and we anticipate, based on the hedging and the process we have in place, that if we become more stable, then it won't move quite as much. But last year would have been significantly more expensive for our customers if we had stayed with the old policy. And that's really, this is one of those opportunities where I can restate exactly what Victor said, just to be sure that we get that point. But Victor, you did a good job summarizing it, but it was a lot of moving around, which is hard for our customers, but overall we saved not an insignificant amount of money for our customers by doing it this way. So thank you, Victor.
Yeah, well stated by both of you. Really appreciate the thoughtfulness and ultimately the data bearing out that this action has mitigated the impact of fluctuating fuel prices for our customers in a positive way for them. So we appreciate that very much.
Hey, Tom, could I add a comment real quick? Joe DeSalvo here.
Yes, sir, General.
Yeah, this is great. And just after, let's see, two board meetings ago where a lot of concern over the rate hearing stuff. And, but this is a good news story. And I think it shows how proactive JEA is staying up and trying to keep costs down or whatever. And if we can just get this to, on the strategic communication side of the house, get this publicized so that our customers know we're doing everything we can. Maybe they know this, but this is pretty eye-opening. I think a good news story. So I think this should resonate pretty well. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more, General. Thank you. Yeah, this is very good news, and I would posit that it probably isn't as well known as we would like it to be, and as it bears being. And so I think that's a really good suggestion. All right. Any other comments on this item? Hearing none, we'll move on to the FY23 year-to-date JD Power residential survey highlights. Sheila?
Good morning. My name is Sheila Presley, Chief Customer Officer, and I will share highlights from our recent residential customer satisfaction survey. So in response to the fuel pricing, customer satisfaction declined precipitously, and we were placed in the 4th quartile of all of the utilities surveyed. This chart reflects our placement over the last 2 years. The blue line is JEA, and the gray line is an average of all mid-size utilities in the South region. You can see since 2020, we placed favorably above the median in the South mid-size utilities, and not until recently were placed below the average. And that is because the other utilities and those customers had not yet seen the adjustments in fuel pricing. And we're seeing some movement there now where those customers are realizing those impacts, and the satisfaction among those customers at other utilities is starting to wane. But during this period, we dipped to the 4th quartile of overall satisfaction, with price being a major pain point for customers. And that was apparent in the customers' comments, highlighting costs of service as an area for us to improve upon. It really becomes a matter of education, as Victor shared. With the strategy that we employed, we made the best decision for our customers. But price sensitivity was evident in most income segments, and the combination of escalating fuel prices and the summer heat resulted in bills that were difficult to manage for many and bothersome for others. Call volumes were 20% higher than historical norms, and in response, we hired call center agents, promoted budget billing, and temporarily suspended disconnections to address the need. Fuel prices are now trending downward, and call volumes have returned to historical norms, and the payment extensions that were offered during the fall, affording customers the opportunity to pay those overages over time, are being satisfactorily cured. Call center agents continue to share efficiency tips with our customers and pair them with agencies to address needs for other essentials like food and housing. The remediation measures, coupled with moderate temperatures and enhanced service delivery, have yielded more favorable feedback from our customers in the survey that was published last week. Media coverage continues to influence perception, but in every driver of satisfaction, we've improved and are now ranked in the 2nd quartile of the utilities ranked. The next slide illustrates JEA's performance in the key drivers of satisfaction compared to the South midsize utilities. The gray line represents the South midsize, and the blue line represents JEA. You'll note on the 2nd line that there is a greater awareness, there's a greater awareness of a rate increase at JEA in comparison to the other utilities. And you remember now, this reflects the fall customer survey during the fall of last year. But in most of the other drivers, we perform equally or better than the South midsize. Look at perfect power, above the awareness of a rate increase. Look down beneath that, notice vegetation management, awareness of our efforts to improve the impact on the environment, receiving alerts. Generally, we perform equal to or better than all of the utilities in the South midsize in the primary drivers of customer satisfaction. The differentiator here was the awareness of a rate increase. We are continuing, constantly, seeking ways to serve our customer better. With that increase in call volume, we've implemented a courtesy callback feature, so customers are not sitting in queue waiting to speak to someone. We call them back at a time that keep their place in line and call them back so they don't have to wait. We've installed self-service kiosks in our customer center, and we will move them to our new location so customers don't have to wait to be served. We've instituted a credit card fee waiver, and we are returning deposits much faster, in fact, a year sooner than we did previously. And what's planned? We will implement chat sometime during this year. That's in flight right now. A new mobile app. We'll have scheduled service appointments. And then, as Marty mentioned during the board meeting, we're partnering with local agencies to help to add efficiency through weatherization to homes in the historic East Side. Are there any questions for me?
Any questions from anyone?
Sheila, this is John. Is there any way we could get that graph updated so that it shows us going, into the second quartile?
Yes.
I
Yes,
hate
please.
looking at bad news that's out of date when the good news is in date.
Yes. Absolutely, I'll update it. These presentations were prepared before the latest results were released, but I'll make sure to update it to show the positive movement.
Very good. Good suggestion. Yeah, and no questions, but congratulations and keep up the great work. I mean, clearly there's correlation between those first two agenda items, and many of the service enhancements that you reviewed actually tie back to additional ways in which JEA is living the value of respect that Mercy shared with us as well. So well done. Congratulations on the results. Again, keep right on going.
We have a great team here at JEA doing a really good job.
Very good. All right. A couple of good news presentations to begin the meeting. It's always nice. Next up is affordability measures. Tim?
All right, thank you. Good morning to all, and hopefully I can keep the good news coming here. So my name's Tim Hunt, and I'm the Vice President of Customer Experience Insights, Solutions, and Digitization. While we've all heard about, the impact of bills due to the fuel rate increases, and we know that we do have rate adjustments taking effect here, I believe on April 1st. What we don't hear as much about is what it is that we're doing each and every day to assist our customers with affordability. And we have a number of programs that we offer to customers to both assist them with their utility bill and to help them keep more money in their pockets. I'd like to highlight a few of those programs today. So one of the benefits that we provide to customers that doesn't really even fall into something that you'd expect from a utility is the various outreach programs that we have, and these are managed by our manager of customer assistance programs, Elizabeth Paulson. Being able to facilitate conversations between various nonprofit agencies and our customers. And this includes food banks, financial assistance through the Lutheran Social Services, government assistance through ElderSource, and Feeding Northeast Florida. In fiscal year 22, we were able to identify 117 seniors who were eligible for services through these agencies but had not signed up. The value to these services that the customers received last year alone totaled nearly $130,000. I think that this really speaks to our tagline of building community. This slide here captures the total amount of savings that customers have realized through fiscal year 23 year to date. In addition to my budget and to the senior outreach efforts that we have, we've also assisted customers with affordability through our deposit policy, through waiving credit card fees, rebates, and our low-income weatherization program. We continuously are reviewing our deposit policy to understand how we can modify it in a way to not unnecessarily over-collect by setting our credit score requirements too high, while also balancing the needs of the business in terms of risk. By reducing the amount of time that we hold on deposits from 2 years to 1, we've been able to return over $6 million to customers earlier than we would have. It's not too difficult to imagine the value this provides to customers when we do have price spikes. Credit card fees is something else that customers have routinely expressed displeasure over. And so beginning in October, JEA made the decision to absorb these fees, which has resulted in savings of more than $2 million over the past 5 months for customers. Rebates to customers for energy efficient appliances, insulation, low flow toilets, et cetera, have provided over $700,000 back to our customers this fiscal year. And our low income weatherization program is especially impactful because not only do all these dollars assist our most vulnerable customers, but these improvements provide savings each and every month for many years. Looking at customers who have had weatherization improvements made over the past 5 years and summing up these savings just for this fiscal year alone comes to nearly $375,000. And as Sheila alluded to, I also want to mention that separate from the low-income weatherization program, we're also working with a number of local nonprofit agencies to run a pilot study in the historic East Side neighborhood to provide not only energy efficiency upgrades, but to also provide upgrades to the entire house that would complement these upgrades. For example, sealing the home's envelope to keep the heating and cooling from escaping, replacing old, inefficient large appliances with newer technology, for example, with heat pumps and water heaters, and providing low-flow toilets to save on water and sewer costs. This program will demonstrate and capture savings for 15 homes, and depending upon how much funding we can secure from donors and grants, we will expand the program beyond this initial pilot, again, working with local nonprofit agencies. Recruitment of participants is currently underway, and as a matter of fact, we've actually have 7 people out of the 15 already with the paperwork coming in. This is going to allow us then to go and define the scope of work for each participant, and we will begin these in-home assessments the last week of April. And then, as I also mentioned, with the My Budget program, this is a program that allows our customers to pay 12-month rolling averages of their bills as a way to cushion against dramatic price spikes. While customers will still pay the full cost of their energy and water consumption, the bill is averaged out across a 12-month time frame. This program provides significant benefit to our customers over this past year and, well, many years before, obviously. But when fuel rates spiked quite a bit, the value of this was really felt by our customers. The accounts receivable for customers on this program went up from $2 million this time last year to over $10 million by the end of summertime. In effect, it's a de facto financing program that allowed customers to hold on to $8 million additional dollars in the short term while they pay their balance down over time. And that's all that I have. Any questions?
Yes, can you explain how customers become aware and get on this My Budget? Is it on the bill itself, or do you have to sign up for it?
Yeah, great question. There are criteria. You do have to sign up for it. We have to have, I believe, 6 months history of your bill so that we can estimate what your 12-month rolling average will look like. But how we advertise this, we go out with campaigns periodically, at least a couple times a year, and we see big upticks in the uptake during that time frame. So this is something that we continually provide information on our bill inserts, through email campaigns, et cetera.
Tim is right. In addition to those measures, call center agents offer the program and explain it to customers that have difficulty with the variability in the bills month to month as a solution. So we promote it on our website through these campaigns and one-to-one through our customer service agents.
Thank you. That's an amazing program.
I'm a member of it myself.
Significant assistance in providing stability and predictability to the monthly budget for these utilities, as opposed to the variation one might otherwise see. So well done. All right. Any other questions for Tim? If not, Tim, thanks again for continuing the trend of positive reports here this morning. We appreciate it very much. All right, on to electrification. Matt.
All right. Good morning, committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today about electrification. My name is Matt Lundeen, and it is my privilege to have been with this great organization for almost 18 years now. I'm the Director of Distributed Resources, and my team's focus is on developing and implementing transformational initiatives that enhance the customer's experience by preparing the utility for a future with increasing electrification and distributed energy resources. So for today's presentation, I'll briefly discuss what electrification is, what some of the benefits of electrification are, and what JEA is doing to support it today and in the future. So I'll start by broadly defining what electrification is. It is the conversion or shift in using fossil fuel powered equipment and processes to the implementation of technologies that use electricity to operate. So to help provide a little bit more context, a couple of illustrations include a gas-powered forklift exchanged for an electric forklift, or one of the more commonly known conversions today is the switch from a gas-powered passenger vehicle for transportation to an electric vehicle, also known as an EV. So what are some of the benefits of this change or this conversion of electrification? There are several benefits, but a couple to note are increased operational efficiencies and reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. Some of JEA's commercial customers now have their own environmental goals, in which electrification can provide a cost-effective strategy to achieve those goals. So how does JEA support electrification? JEA has 2 active programs and 1 plan that support electrification. The first program to note is JEA's Electrification Rebate Program. The program deepens customer engagement and fosters economic development with our commercial and industrial customers by enabling various electric solutions with prescriptive and custom incentives. This program was started in 2015 and has positively benefited our community by reducing over 1 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So for comparison, it would take over 1.2 million acres of forest, or the removal of about 228,000 gas-powered passenger cars from the road for 1 year to achieve the same reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. The second program to note is JEA's Drive Electric program, which provides a comprehensive EV education service to our customers, as well as incentive opportunities for the customers that have EVs. In the Drive Electric program, we've had over 58,000 customer interactions since June of 2021 and support the reliability of the electric grid that we incentivize off-peak charging. I also like to take this opportunity to give a quick plug for the Drive Electric event that we will have on Saturday, April 8th. It's our Drive Electric Earth Day event, and it's going to be held at UNF from 1 to 4 p.m. This is a free event. It's open to the public. This is a great opportunity for our community to learn more about EVs. So in planning for the future of electrification, there are a couple of items I'd like to highlight. The first is JEA's fleet electrification program that is planned to launch in June of this year. This program is aimed at providing a comprehensive advisory and consulting service to our customers that are interested in converting their fleets. The conversion plans developed in this program will include total cost of ownership, estimated annual charging needs, and recommended EV charging infrastructure. In addition, an important component of this program is to identify process improvement opportunities that are aimed at making it easier to do business with JEA. I'd also like to highlight that we are committed to leveraging this program with our own fleet of vehicles to do a full assessment of our current assets and assess future needs in order to develop a comprehensive fleet conversion plan for JEA. Bailey will share more about JEA's fleet plans in the next presentation. The second item to note is the assessment of potential impacts to utilities from considerable electrification growth, such as the substantial and rapid adoption of EVs. Planning for this transition is critical. JEA is taking various actions to plan and prepare for increased electrification. These efforts include engaging with various industry experts, such as the Electric Power Research Institute, to better understand EV charging behaviors in our community. We are also engaging in efforts to explore cost structures that are targeted at promoting increasing EV adoption and influencing charging habits, as well as participating in committees and planning organizations that support the increase of public EV charging infrastructure in our community. In addition, David Porter from the Electric Power Research Institute will attend the April board meeting to discuss the current state of the broader market of transportation electrification, where the market is expected to go over the next decade, and the challenges the industry faces with substantial electrification growth. So in closing, JEA is committed to evolving our electrification program designs as our customers' needs change, as well as being engaged in how we can leverage various new and existing technologies to advance the quality of life in all the communities we serve. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Matt? Matt, the excellent presentation. Appreciate it very much. The Drive Electric program sounds like a really positive program for owners. I'm wondering, I have the same question Mr. Baker had relative to the prior the prior item, and that is, how do individuals become aware of this program?
Absolutely, great question. So we do many forms of outreach. It's also on JEA.com. We've got a JEA Drive Electric website as well that will share more information about it. We had a occurrence as well for our employees internally. So there's emails, there's multiple forms of outreach that customers we share about these events.
Hey Matt, you might also mention for the board committee that part of the program includes concierge service, where we're actually partnering with dealerships all throughout Jacksonville. So that is where I believe a good portion of our intake comes for the program. So we're trying to hit people when they're even thinking about purchasing an electric vehicle.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you, Laura. And just to add on a little bit there, so we will have some local dealers there. So customers will have an opportunity to talk to dealers, even test drive. So thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you both. That's exactly where I was. That was going to be my follow-up question, was that, have we worked with local dealers such that when individuals are considering purchasing, that they are at that time made aware that there's this benefit that would be available to them as well. So that's proactive work on your part. I appreciate it very much. Any other questions on this item? All right, sort of pulling this thread inside JEA, I guess, a bit. There's an item here for JEA fleet electrification. Bailey.
My name is Bailey Brunel. I'm the Director of Facilities and Fleet Services. And today I'll share an overview of JEA's fleet and the growth we have made in electric and hybrid vehicles and equipment. Our current fleet is about 1,700 assets. It's comprised of everything from trailers all the way up to our heavy-duty line trucks and vac trucks. And of that, about 5% is currently fully electric or hybrid, and we have more on order in the coming years. Until recently, the market hasn't really provided options that fit into our fleet without sacrificing operational efficiencies. But as our options grow, we anticipate a more rapid growth in our own electric fleet. We've seen the most growth in half-ton pickups, material handling equipment, heavy equipment, and specialized equipment like ground rod drivers and wire pullers. Some of the highlights of our fleet, we are actually the first in the state of Florida to purchase the first mass-produced electric excavator that you see here. It's currently working in our meter services group, and it allows crews to work quicker and quieter in residential areas. Our electric wire pullers have been well received. They are quiet and odorless. Previously, this type of equipment had to be tested for safe decibel levels, and the electric option allows us to operate those now, that equipment without that concern. We've done demos on 40-foot and 55-foot hybrid bucket trucks, and we've started to incorporate those into our fleet now. These allow the bucket attachment and the cab AC to continue operating while being able to shut off the engine and reduce emissions, noise, and engine hours. We've also ordered 10 Ford Lightning. They are the first fully electric half-ton pickups, and we're looking forward to incorporating those into our fleet once they arrive, which will hopefully be next year. Of course, the addition of EVs into any fleet isn't without its challenges. As we've seen across the industry in general, availability continues to be a concern. The market for electric work trucks like the Ford Lightning are popular with retail customers and eventually take priority over the government fleet sales. For instance, the order time for our 10 Ford Lightning is about 2 years from the date we place the order, which is also about the same as their gasoline-powered alternative. Another challenge we face is the culture of adoption. And while the technology has been improving to address many of the initial concerns with EVs, the perception of lower performance and range anxiety still exists. So we're working to alleviate these with demo units, piloting new trucks within our user groups, and allowing our operators to speak directly with manufacturers about their concerns and to provide feedback they have. One of the largest concerns that we do face is infrastructure planning. We've been planning ahead for charging infrastructure at our own JEA facilities, but consistent charging infrastructure around the service territory and really throughout the state is a concern for those working far from a JEA facility. And so these challenges are not unique to JEA or even the industry, and integrating EVs into a fleet is more successful with the support of other internal teams and other agencies around the city. While infrastructure is a concern, planning electrification growth together helps make that transition smoother and more successful. Our fleet team has been working alongside the Customer Solutions team and Matt's group to support events like the Drive Electric event, which, remember, is April 8th, next weekend, and we will have some of our own JEA equipment out there, and provide information and resources to help them with their customer outreach goals as well. The City of Jacksonville, Jacksport, and Duval County Public School fleet managers, we meet with us. We all meet together to discuss the progress in electrification that we're making. We share ideas on how to work together and advance electrification in our respective fleets. Our team also stays connected through the North Florida TPO in order to participate in the discussion of electric growth locally and throughout the state. Some of the other considerations as we grow our EV fleet include regulations regarding EVs and sustainability commitments that are made by local and state and federal governments. Our team monitors these regulatory changes and the discussions to ensure that we're ahead of any changes that may impact our operations and we're not caught unaware. Cost has also been a consideration in EV adoption. And while the cost of EVs has been dropping in recent years, they're still priced slightly above the gasoline and diesel alternatives. However, the price differential can be further reduced by looking at the total cost of ownership of an electric or hybrid vehicle versus the alternative maintenance cost, which seems to reduce with electric vehicles. So as we look ahead to our own fleet, we're excited to work alongside Matt's team to help develop a strategic plan for our electric vehicle growth in our own, in JEA's own fleet, specifically by participating in their fleet electrification plan. It's through these small changes in the way we do business that help demonstrate our commitment to sustainable practices right here in our community. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Excellent report, Bailey. Thank you. Questions?
I'm not sure if this is a question for Bailey or Matt, but do you see JEA taking the lead in putting in charging centers around the city, or is that something that is expected to be handled by private enterprise or other branches of the government?
I'll take a shot at this. Thank you for the question. Right now, it's more private enterprise. We actually do offer a rebate for things like DC fast chargers. And we work and sit on various planning committees and organizations, not just locally, but for the state of Florida, where we target locations or ideal locations for these charging facilities. So right now, I don't think that we've got it on our plate, but it is something that we are exploring moving forward. So there is some NEVI funding that is helping to support the public EV charging infrastructure that's going in around the state and in our local community. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
May I add on to that, Mr. Baker?
Sure.
The private enterprise, as you can imagine, deploys their chargers now where it is advantageous for them to do so financially. And so JEA, as a municipal utility, will see an opportunity as EVs become more widely adopted to fill in gaps in our charging, in that charging network, particularly in places where private enterprise may not be as willing to go or go on the timeline that may be needed. So we are looking at that, leveraging available funding and looking at our role in deploying those assets for the entire community.
Jordan, thank you for that.
Right.
Making charging more equitably accessible across all areas of the community. That's just another example, as is this whole report, of responsible stewardship for JEA. So we appreciate that. I've got one quick follow-up question. That is, given JEA's commitment to safety and impressive track record of safety, as more and more electric vehicles of various types are deployed for use within the organization, is there specific safety training that goes along with operating electric vehicles? And I'm asking that because insofar as it's wonderful that they operate virtually silently, it can also pose a bit of a hazard to folks moving around the area and just frankly not hearing these vehicles coming as you would an otherwise gas-powered vehicle.
Certainly, there is definitely a learning curve when we change technology as drastically as this. Anytime we implement really any new piece of equipment, whether it's electric or not, we in-service it, offer training, and work with our training group to make sure we stay on top of regular training on this type of equipment. The quiet factor is really just not hearing an engine running, so it does take a little bit more awareness of your surroundings and knowing what's operating and what's happening there. So I think that falls within the cultural change that we have to make as we change a technology like this too.
Very fair. Not surprised that that's accounted for. Appreciate that. All right. Any other questions on this item?
Hey, Tom, one more comment. Sorry.
No, not at all. Go right ahead.
I just, the examples, the vignettes that Matt and Bailey provided here, boy, that really adds credibility to our IRP process that we're doing. And May, I think it's May, is when we really open it up to the customers writ large at our board meeting on the implementation plan for the IRP. But I highly recommend we incorporate vignettes that Matt and Bailey just talked about into what we're doing, being proactive as we go with this IRP. And I think this will resonate really well with the IRP stakeholders as well as our customers writ large. So just a recommendation.
And a good one. Thank you, sir. All right. If nothing further on that item, thank you again, Matt and Bailey. Appreciate both of your reports very much. And now we'll move into the workforce component of this committee's purview. And I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer for talent planning.
Thank you, and good morning, committee members. I'm Jennifer Connell, and I am very happy to be with you all today on this fine Friday. I have served in several capacities in the Learning and Organizational Development Department since joining JEA in 2010. In December of 22, I transitioned to my current role as a senior specialist on the new organizational effectiveness team in the corporate strategy group. The organizational effectiveness team supports JEA's strategic objective of developing an unbeatable team, and we do that by focusing on 3 key areas: employee engagement, organizational design and change management, and talent planning, which is what I will provide an update on today. While we're pleased that in our most recent employee engagement survey, the growth driver marked by the statement, "I have good opportunities to learn and grow at JEA," increased by 3 points from our last survey in June and places us above the national benchmark of 72. We also continued to hear from our employees that there is not only a gap in our ability to give employees opportunities to move across the organization to grow their careers, but also pockets of the company where we need more resources. Our refined model has taken our workforce planning to a new level. We've begun the work to build a more comprehensive talent assessment approach using talent profiles that are developed through individual conversations with employees about their background and critical experiences, career interests, mobility and retention, and potential and performance to better position JEA to intentionally develop our employees. The employee profiles will paint a picture of JEA's talent inventory that will inform our workforce plans. Over the last 90 days, we've completed those initial profiles, starting with the leadership and extended leadership team levels, and are currently completing them at the director level. Based on our interest from our initial talent profile conversations, we have identified 4 internal potential successors for the CEO role. 1 is ready now, and 3 are on target to be ready in 5 or more years. Less than half have indicated they would consider retiring and/or leaving the organization within the next 5 years. We also currently have strong talent interested in being developed to become successors for every leadership team position over the next 5 years. And one of our next steps is to look at the gaps and needs and update them based not only on interest, but all aspects of readiness for a particular position. This doesn't mean that we will automatically give a role to an individual. Rather, it means we're intentional about the professional development with which we support our people. Our intentional process enables us to develop strong succession plans at the leadership team level by identifying and accelerating the development of potential successors. Over the next 2 quarters, we will continue to facilitate the talent profile process down through the organization, and in parallel, build out succession plans over that same time frame through the extended leadership team and director levels. We know that laying the groundwork now will enable us to better understand and proactively design plans and refine processes to grow our talent across the organization by identifying and closing competency, skill, or experiential gaps. We're thrilled to see employees expressing career interests in JEA roles, which helps us refine our focus on targeted movement to provide depth and breadth of experience and exposure in the variety of functional roles needed to support strategic projects across the organization. Additionally, we'll continue to curate customized development that builds diverse bench strength across JEA for leadership roles and critical roles that will feed into the broader long-term workforce plan. On behalf of our employees, thank you for your continued support of our efforts to cultivate an environment in which our current and future JEA employees can thrive. You all know as well as anyone, they are the heartbeat of our organization. I appreciate your time this morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Jennifer, thank you for the thoughtful, intentional approach here with talent planning. Appreciate that very much. Are there questions?
Can I take just a couple of minutes to add to this? And I appreciate the way you just said that, because I want to be sure that you see and know that this is intentional and thoughtful. And really it is, when 2.5 years ago, within the first few meetings with John Baker, one of the questions that kept on coming up is how are we going to make sure we're planning for the future and succession planning? And so this is the step towards that we've been working on for a little while, but it is the initial step. There's a lot of work. Jennifer, I appreciate the way that you presented the idea that this is the beginning, that we have some specific and intentional and thoughtful steps we're going to take over the next couple of quarters, and then over the next couple of years. Really, this is not a one and done type of a program. What we've had at I think JEA in the past is a very really siloed organization where people might have opportunities to grow, but it was almost always inside of their organization. And even the leaders were looking only inside of their organization whenever there might be qualified and good people across the organization, and this is going to help us do that. The other thing is that we're going to be purposeful about development, including movement to other roles that historically someone who, and I hesitate to use examples, but there's examples of people who would be really qualified, good managers, leaders. As you get more senior in the organization, you're leading people more than you are the process. But we have always kind of kept people within the silos. If you started in the water group, you were always water. If you started in finance, you were always finance. There's a few examples of that that's a little bit different. But I'm going to, and we are going to continue to encourage and teach and help our managers, leaders, directors, all the way up to me. I can get stuck on somebody having specific experience that we need to have a broader view of. So this is the beginning of that. And I believe that John Baker wanted this sooner. And so now we're catching up. But anyway, I appreciate, Jennifer, thank you for the background and the presentation. And we're all always happy to answer questions. It's a continuing learning process to be able to see how we can approach this appropriately. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very well said, Jay, and thank you again, Jennifer. Now, Jay, I appreciate that. I mean, one of the sort of occupational hazards, particularly for somebody with deep subject matter expertise within a certain silo, is that they can sort of get pigeonholed there and may well have competencies and ways that they could contribute to the organization well beyond that, but people see them as such an expert in that particular domain that they don't necessarily get the opportunities they might otherwise merit. And this, it sounds like you're thinking beyond that to make sure that you're leveraging talent to the best, ultimately to the best end for JEA and for the individuals serving inside the organization. So I think that's wonderful. So quick question: if an individual is identified as ready in anywhere between the 1 to 5 year plus time frame, is there an individual development plan that they're aware of and are working toward, not just that do more of the same and you'll be ready in 1 to 5 years, but here are the kinds of things that we're going to work with you on in order to facilitate and sort of shepherd your continuing development?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Go ahead, Laura.
Those are currently being built, and part of what we are doing feels a little bit iterative. So initial conversations happening, thinking more about whether or not it's realistic, the career interests, and then what are those concentrated development activities that need to occur in that time frame for which we believe the individual will become ready.
Excellent. All right.
Tom, can I ask a question?
Of course. Yes, sir.
Maybe it's Jennifer, I should ask you to. I don't understand how you, the column entitled retention risk, how you determine what does approximately 3 years mean and how do you determine that?
So Mr. Baker, great question. The retention risk was identified through the conversations between the direct supervisor and the employees. So they are intentions that were discussed in those conversations and articulated so that we could capture the data and be better prepared to fill those roles and also prepare for development in those roles.
Mr. Becker, you might be pointing towards the CEO.
I was taking that as an example, yes.
Yes, that's the duration left in Jay's contract currently. I'm fairly certain he has no intention of going anywhere in 3 years, but that was the best baseline of information for this potential retention.
Yeah, and as long as the board's okay with that, the other side of that equation wants to stay longer than 3. But it is important. We did that purposefully and put that there because we need to be sure that we have a plan in case that something does happen. So that's the reason that we put on that particular one. The other roles, it could be the possibility of retirement or time in grade or time at the organization. That particular one, yeah, okay. That's why we did it.
It's the retention risk of the existing person, not of the new people.
That's right.
Okay, I completely misunderstood it. Thank you.
Very good clarification, Mr. Baker. Thank you. All right, anything else? If not, we'll move on to long-term workforce planning with David.
Good morning, Committee Chair Van Osdale, Mr. Baker, and General DeSalvo. David Emanuel, Chief Human Resources Officer. And I think mine is an extension of what Jennifer and Jay were just talking about. Intentionally looking at what our long-term kind of direction and planning is around our workforce. Our mission is to actively engage in recruitment practices to attract and retain the most qualified candidates that reflect the diversity of the communities we serve. We have an immediate need that is to be prepared to replace up to 30% of our employees by 2030. With unemployment at record lows in the US and even lower in Jacksonville, the competition is fierce. And that's both around finding talent, retaining talent, paying talent. So when we think about this outlook, we have to improve our processes, our procedures, our practices. We have to review everything. Is it current? Does it work? Is it meaningful? Is it necessary? And we are embarking on that now. We have begun to really review and focus on what our employees do and what it is they want to do. And we do this through job profiles. The key is the employees have a chance to express their views on how they see their career. And I think that is a continuation of what Jennifer has put in, as was talking about earlier. And it is, I think, a very strong step because it's not just the manager's view, it's the employee's view. And I think that little switch has allowed us to start to knock down some of the silos and really start to have a cross-channel, a cross-company conversation about what our talent looks like. We are reviewing our performance administration and beginning to extend our succession planning down throughout the manager levels and throughout the entire company. I know Mr. Baker wanted to make sure we did the CEO. We've done that. We've done the pro level or the chief levels, but now it's going all the way down. And the goal there is identifying talent and putting it to its best use and building development plans around those folk that we believe can become future leaders. We're a workforce of great competition. Our people assets are some of the best in the country. And so we've got to do things that make them feel that they've got a future here. We've started to build relationships with our community schools, high schools. We've got 4 specific programs that we're using and doing right now to allow us to touch younger people and let them know about JEA earlier. We're also doing things in our community with grade schools and churches that give us access to our community, but also allow us not only to plan for and meet them where they are, but expose JEA as an employer of choice, but also they may become future customers. So getting them earlier, exposing them is a purposeful thing we're doing. We're also looking at these programs to augment our apprenticeship programs, which allows us to, again, start younger, but also start in a way that gives them a chance so that when we replace folk, the learning and the learning that is shared becomes learning that endures. We're overhauling a lot of our policies. We're looking at how to best use civil service and really looking at how to make that an advantage rather than sometimes a detriment. We do have 5 unions, but we're working with them, asking and soliciting their help in terms of recruiting and how to best keep the best employees. And we believe that these community programs, the way that we're focusing on high schools and colleges, allows us and will allow us to be here with a great workforce well out into 2050. Any questions, thoughts, worries, or concerns?
Appreciate it very much, David. I wouldn't characterize it as worry, but obviously you've laid out a significant challenge, but you've also laid out a thoughtful, comprehensive, sort of multifactorial approach to meeting that challenge. And so I appreciate that.
Chair Van Osdale, that's a great point. I think we did not and had not done anything to information share. We did let a lot of our homegrown talent, walk out in the past without actually finding out all of the things that they knew. And we're trying to do that a much better job of getting that information to the next person up. And it's a work in progress, but I think we have made some progress.
Very good.
I want to, first of all, David, if we had done nothing other than just show this picture, this could have been a successful meeting because that's the best. I love that picture. But I want to thank the team that's working on this, which is the entire organization really, to start thinking about things differently. And it's the transition from what Jennifer was talking about to what David is talking about is this is going all the way through the organization. And we said it before, I think you've heard it before, but 30% of our workforce will be eligible for retirement by 2030. We are working to determine what does that look like, because we've always had a high level of possible retirements, but that's going to change the way that we look and the way that we do things, and is really the reason for the need for the sense of urgency that we're trying to create here. So thank you, David, for the update on all that.
And the young man wants to either be a doctor or an engineer. So I said, if he's an engineer, please call me. If he's a doctor, I'll call him.
Very nice. All right. Well said by both of you. Thank you very much. All right. One more item officially on the agenda, and that is the employee engagement survey results. Dr. Medina.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Jessica Medina, and I've worked at JEA for 8 years, previously in the Learning and Development Department, and now in organizational effectiveness. So I've spent the last few months working on organizational design, change management, and today I'll provide an update on employee engagement. As you recall, in the August board retreat, we discussed the June 22 engagement survey results using our third-party provider. And this slide shows the results of our second most recent engagement survey conducted in February of 23. Our overall engagement score was 82, which is up 3 points from the June score and 8 points higher than the national benchmark. Glint's national benchmark is derived from their customer base of over 510 companies. The scores for all 24 drivers increased since the last survey in June, and 16 scores were above the benchmark. We had an overall response rate of 70%, which is just slightly lower than the previous survey, and the number of employee comments has increased from the last survey to almost 4,500 comments this time. You can see under engagement favorability that 85% of employees answered the questions favorably, which is up 4 points from the June survey. We learned that employees are eager to see survey results, so we released this survey information to leaders in real time and then posted the results on JEA's intranet for all employees to see immediately after the survey closed. Now we'll look at our strengths and opportunities. When compared to the national benchmark, we continue to show strengths in offering employees work-life balance, purpose, and resources, as was shown in the June 22 survey results also. Leaders are continuing to support an exceptional work culture where employees have a good work-life balance and they feel they have purpose at JEA and continue to have the resources they need to do their job well. In addition to the benchmark strengths, the company also shows strengths in the driver's role and feedback. We'll continue to see that our employees have opportunities to fill a role they're a good fit for and to support managers as they give good feedback to their employees. When compared to the national benchmark, our top opportunities are ethics, values, and leadership. We've set expectations that leaders will share their survey results with their teams and work together to create action plans that'll help improve JEA's culture. While ethics is an area of opportunity, we did improve 4 points from the last survey and we're just 4 points under the national benchmark. And when reading the comments on ethics, the sentiment was that overall JEA employees do have ethical behavior, but the concept of one bad apple in the bunch was mentioned. In June 2022, action taking was our top opportunity and our score improved 9 points, which is the score with the largest increase since the last survey. We've taken many actions at the enterprise level and at the individual leader level to show employees that we will take action as a result of these surveys. While we are at national benchmark for action taking, it has a high impact on overall engagement. So we want to continue that momentum and we'll continue to focus on action taking. Collaboration is also a high impact driver that we scored just 1 below the national benchmark on, but still shows as an opportunity when compared to the company scores. So we'll continue to focus on improving collaboration as well. Our next steps are to use the engagement survey results to foster an exceptional work culture. We plan to continue to socialize successes from actions teams put into place since the June survey and those from the February survey. We'll build focus groups to learn from managers about actions they've planned for their teams and how we can support them. We've also implemented onboarding surveys to capture more information about the moments that matter to employees throughout the important stages in their career. And we'll plan programs for improvement considering the combination of the engagement and onboarding survey results. We'll continue to use the engagement survey regularly in the future too, to stay connected with our employees and use the data to continuously improve. Thank you for your time this morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Jessica, can you explain to me what an onboarding survey is?
Sure. So we've scheduled onboarding surveys. So as our new employees come on board, after the first couple of weeks, and then 45 days later, and then 90 days, we're collecting information from them to ensure that they're onboarded into JEA, that they have everything they need. They have an opportunity for open text comments so that we can read through any concerns or areas that we need to address, to just really ensure that the first 90 days of a new employee's experience is very positive for them to kick off in their new role.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Indeed. Dr. Medina, thank you for the presentation. I think, given the arc of JEA over the last several years, I don't think the importance of all of this work could be possibly overstated. The focus on cultivating right culture and right relationships, values, alignment, ethics, et cetera, within the organization, respectful treatment, all of those things are just absolutely paramount to ensuring that folks know how much they're valued inside this great organization. So I really, really appreciate the work. I do have a question. So there's oftentimes I find with employee engagement surveys, there'll be a question, and you may not have the score exactly that you'd love to see. And I often find that I see focus groups with managers talking about actions they plan to take, et cetera. I'm wondering about focus groups with employees, helping to get behind the numbers, if you will, and because sometimes you could interpret a result in a number of different ways, and you want to make sure that you're properly diagnosing, what they were thinking when they responded to the question, so that you then apply the appropriate solution. So, are there focus groups like that to really help better understand again what folks were thinking when they completed the survey?
We're also working with other councils, the Employee Communication Council, which is a committee made up of that very population, as you mentioned, to also cover not just the managers and the team actions, but employees in different departments in a cross-functional team.
There's also the ability to look at different dimensions of the data. So we have the capability of, we work with Paul McFadden, the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, to look at our demographic information to see if there are pockets of the organization where we need to do a better job of offering inclusion. We look at that from a team level. We can view what the breakout looks like between represented employees and non-represented employees. So we're trying to take intentional action from every single angle. And focus groups, I guess what I would offer there is every single leader in our organization should be talking to their teams. So that should be another form of a focus group, so to speak, to get at exactly what you described.
Indeed, that's helpful. Yeah, helping share the results and then helping them help us interpret the data again so that we understand the problem that we're trying to solve, as it were. So very good. I appreciate that very much. All right. Any other questions or comments about this presentation? Well, a thread from beginning to end of the meeting of directionally positive news and progress, and all of that is really wonderful to see. I'm very grateful. Keep up the great work. There's much more to do, and you guys are on a wonderful path. So thank you to each of our presenters for this morning. That concludes the formal items on our agenda. Is there other new business or open discussion to come before the committee today?
I don't know that this counts as new business or a reiteration of what you just said. The team that presented today and all of the background information that it took to do this is important to share with the board and with you all. The work that it takes to actually then implement and do this falls on lots of people's shoulders. But I want to be sure that the three board members that are here representing the board today here, that we appreciate the way that you have asked us questions, and Tom in particular, the way that you have asked us questions to direct us down this path has made us a better organization. So I just want to tell you all, thank you for what you all are doing to help support this. It really does require all of us to be able to make this work. The implementation becomes the hard part now, but this is a series of requests that I hope that you have seen, that each board and committee has made, that has helped us drive to this direction and made us better. So I appreciate everybody's input on this, the whole team, including the board.
Appreciate that very much, Jay. Yeah, there's strong evidence threaded throughout today's meeting of a really thoughtful, systematic, data-driven, sensitive approach to cultivating right culture and relationships throughout the organization. And that's, again, that's just as it should be. So well done to each of you. If no other new business or open discussion, we will then stand adjourned for this meeting, and the next noticed meeting will be on August 25th, 2023. Thank you all. Keep up the great work. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Tom. Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Great job, Tom.